guys. Just looking who's watching. Hi, Kevin from Gateshead. Great to see you all. Hope you've all had a great day. I think my phone is a bit behind. Does that have... Oh, you don't want to hear my phone, do you? Is it behind, Luke?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
So do you want me to switch? I won't be able to see the comments if I switch my phone off. Oh, right, of course. I can see you now. Hi, Sal Harrison. Hi, Jill. My sister-in-law is watching all the way from sunny Southport. Claire, Stella. Hi, Phil Harrison. Hannah from Oxford is watching. Hi, Jean. Hope you've all had a good day. Tell me what you've been up to. Sunny day again today. Derek's teaching me a little bit of gardening. I've never gardened before, but because it's been such a nice day and we've not had many Zoom calls and things today, repotted some plants, big, huge plants, and he gave me the dirty job of putting all the soil in the big pots. I'm really getting into gardening. I never thought I'd be into gardening. I'm married to a landscape gardener. And who else is getting into gardening? Hi, Susie. Hi, Rachel. Luke. Yeah, just really getting into my gardening, learning all the names of the plants. And I think it's something I'm going to be getting into in my old age. One of these women who's into gardening. Doing a bit of cooking as well. Hi, Gaynor. Tell me what you've all been doing today. Who's excited we've got Pastor Charlotte Gambill tonight? How cool is that? Hi, Joe. Yeah, just shout out to Joe Bladen Kay, who's a head teacher in a primary school. You're going back soon. Hi, Stella. Tracy. Emily, Lisa, yeah, Lisa Dickinson loves gardening too. Sharon, all the way from Failsworth. I grew up with Sharon. A funny story about Sharon, if you listen. On my wedding day, Sharon was my dressmaker. She made my bridesmaid dresses. And I asked her to come to the house to make sure my dress was fine and everything. And she was meant to get a lift just before the wedding car came for me and my dad, and this lift didn't turn up, and so she ended up coming in the wedding car with me and my dad. So just as the bride was meant to get out, my friend Sharon, who'd made the dresses, got out. That was funny. Hi, Meg Ellison, all the way from Gateshead. Why, aye, man. We'll get that accent right one day. Leah, congratulations, Leah, on new baby. Hi, Paul. Chris Jones has been cooking, I don't believe it, for 1 minute. He says he's been cooking, cleaning and doing the ironing. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Chris Jones. Oh, gosh, Joe, she's planning to open school and socially distance 64 and 5-year-olds. My prayers are with you, Joe. Yeah, so tonight we're just so excited to have Pastor Charlotte. I've known Pastor Charlotte for, oh God, this makes me feel old. I hope it doesn't make her feel old, but over 20 years, way, way, way before Cherish Days. I think they were called, let me get this right, Women of Destiny. We used to go over to Days. In fact, I was there the day Charlotte said next year we're going to do something called Cherish. We'd never heard of it before, so I was in the room then, and we've just been, so many of us and so many of you watching, Life Church and Charlotte's ministry has just really impacted us, hasn't it? A lot of things that we do now across all our King's campuses you know, began as a seed just because we were in the room, whether it was at Life Church or at Cherish, and we just grabbed a seed, a ministry that we've got in our church. First heard about compassion at Cherish. Somebody type in how many kids we support, Compassion Kids, because that was first heard about. Hi Claire from Gateshead. Yeah, first heard about that. First heard about with Toto. Lots of different ministries that were birthed. Jean Barras watching. Reach was birthed because of being at Cherish. Something just caught hold of her. Some of you even got saved at Cherish. Isn't that amazing? Type on here. That will really encourage Pastor Charlotte. I know Claire Patterson, who was one of our amazing girls, got saved a few years ago at Cherish. So are we ready to go? Tell me when we're ready to go. Shall I leave it a bit longer? Hi, Sarah. You got a lovely visit from Catherine Leeson today. Lorraine's saying she loves the gifts at Cherish. Yeah, we always get great gifts. I've got all my gifts. Some of them have been Pastor Charlotte's books that she's wrote, some of her devotionals, which are brilliant. And I think it's called Beyond. I've got mine upstairs, read it last year. 125 children we support across our campuses. Oh, well, I'm going to introduce Pastor Charlotte now. She's going to join me all the way from sunny Bradford. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, friends. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. We really appreciate you taking this time out. Your busy, busy day. Yeah. How's lockdown in the Gambill household?
Really good. I think my kids are just loving the fact that I'm home. I mean, obviously, you know, I travel a lot. So this is like 8 weeks now of mum just being home and going nowhere. And it's mum with no jet lag, which is amazing. I'm like, I'm actually in the right time and I actually am in the right day, which is a miracle. So my kids have loved that. They don't so much love that I'm the head teacher now as well as the mother. So that didn't go down quite as well because they didn't realize I was going to be quite as strict when it came to schooling. But apart from that, we're actually loving it. We thankfully all get on really, really well. And I know that's not the case for everyone, but brother and sister Hope and Noah are best friends, which I'm really super grateful for in lockdown because they're each other's best company and they hang out together and laugh a lot together. So that just makes life a whole lot easier. And they're teenagers, so I don't have to be changing diapers or putting babies down to nap. And so I can only imagine some of the people that have really young families, how frustrating that could be. But for us, we've got teenagers, they pretty much take care of themselves. So that's good. So we're all well, we're all good. We're just very, very busy.
I know. And what's the first thing you're going to do out when you get out of lockdown?
Eat in a restaurant. I am so fed up of cooking. I hate cooking, and this lockdown has confirmed that I hate cooking even more. I mean, we did something a little while ago, which I don't know if you've heard of, but there's a company called HelloFresh, and they basically, you just go onto the website, you look at the meals you would like to eat that week, you select them, and then they deliver the box with all the raw ingredients in, the menu card, everything measured out in the right portion size, from the garlic to the chili to whatever. So we've been doing that for quite a while. So I have no excuse because the box arrives, the recipe's there, the food's there. But even though it should make life simpler, it still is confirmed I don't want to cook. So I'm going to go to a restaurant and eat someone else's food.
That sounds great. That sounds good to me. Now, every morning, Charlotte, you've been doing something, and I told our girls a few weeks ago about this on our first table talk. You do something called Today I Choose, which is a 10 to 15 minute devotional. And wow, I mean, I've got my army jacket on and I just salute you because tomorrow you are 50 days into that. I mean, that is amazing.
I am. Tomorrow, by the way, it's the 50th today I choose. I'm not 50, not yet. Just let's get that straight. I've got a few more years. I'm hanging on. Yeah, it'll be the 50th today I choose tomorrow. And to be honest, if I'm really honest with you, I just felt like, well, I could put something out there. I'm not traveling as much. I could do something with my gift in preaching to bless people. So I'll kind of just say, I'm going to do something and it'll just be for lockdown. Me thinking we'd be out of this thing in like 8-9 days. So I'm like, oh my Lord, be careful what you say publicly.
Well, I salute you because they have been amazing and we've got so much out of them. So I've not watched all 50, but I have watched quite a few and they are really good. Charlotte, I've known you now for 20 years or so. As you've always I've been a leader as I've known you. But, where did that start? Where did it start in Charlotte Gambill? On your bio, you say, I'm just a girl daring to be. But let's just backtrack a number of years to when you really started feeling called to church ministry. How did that feel? Where did that begin in you?
Well, I grew up in the church that actually now we pastor, which is crazy. We've only ever been in the church that I'm in now my whole life, which in itself I think is something that's really rare these days. Most people have been in several churches before they end up in the one that they kind of give the majority of their time to. But I grew up in the church. And so I grew up with parents that come out of school, got saved, and all of that story. But then my journey was being in church, being around church. And I just had this deep love for what I saw the church could become, what she was all about. I loved the community. I loved the generations. I loved that it was building something with hope and purpose. Yeah. And so I was attracted to that from an early age. And I served everywhere. But when I was 14 years of age, because I love the church, I would literally go to anything and everything. I'd be at every meeting, and we weren't a big church at the time, but, I'd just show up at meetings that weren't even for me. I'd go to leaders' meetings. I wasn't leader. I'd ask my dad to take me to trustee meetings. I had no idea what they're talking about. I'd stand on the step in my pajamas and slippers crying that he was going to church without me. And so I remember one time him just scooping me up in my PJs, throwing me in the car, and I sat in a boring trustee meeting for 2 hours, but I was really happy. So it was just kind of this thing in me, but I didn't understand it. I just thought it was just because I like community and serving. And then when I was 14, I was at the back of a room I shouldn't have been in. It was a leaders meeting. And the guy that was speaking there, he was the overseer of the church at the time. And he said, I've had this word, this prophetic word for like 3 months, and I've tried to deliver it in like 4 different settings, but there's never been anyone named Charlotte in the room. And I know it's for somebody called Charlotte. And so he said, is there any Charlotte in the room? There was no Charlotte in the room. My dad said to him, our Charlotte's in the room, but she shouldn't be in the room. She's at the back. So he goes, it must be for her. So he brought my parents to one side and off the microphone to one side, brought this word over my life, which to be honest, at 14, I had no idea what it meant. But he said I would open the word of God to millions of people. It would be men and it would be women, that my children would be blessed, that I would be married and cross nations. And so much of that, I mean, at 14, I had no idea I was going to struggle with infertility. I had no idea that I'd end up marrying an American. I had no idea how God would use me in those 2 nations. But it was like at 14, all of that was like a promise, because God knew there'd be a struggle to get there. And so it just kind of set me on this journey of going, well, what does that look like? And for me, that actually took me to the passage in the Bible where Paul says to Timothy, don't let people look down on you because you're young. But then the second part of the scripture says, but Timothy, you must devote yourself to the learning of scripture, to the reading, to the teaching. And so I realized my job was not to figure out how this is going to happen. My job was to devote myself, so that when it was time, I had something kind of in the bank of my life that would be useful. And so really that was the God part of it, that was the affirmation. But then the journey of me stepping into ministry was a roller coaster. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to be behind the scenes. I didn't want to speak. I was in a church at the time that didn't agree that women should speak. So there was even that barrier. So it's been a journey to get there. But that word, I think God knew I'd need it early on to keep me on the right path.
Yeah, just speak. I mean, I thought the call of God is wonderful, but just speak a little bit about the obstacles that you've had to, you mentioned, skimmed on a few there, but that you had to face. you get the call of God, but then surely this, you don't go from there to there.
No.
And how did you overcome those in your own mind, maybe your own fears, your own vulnerabilities, other people not championing you, or?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, there was the struggle because the government structure of the church was that women shouldn't be speaking, they shouldn't be preaching, they shouldn't be teaching. So there was that obstacle. And so when it was even referenced that I was going to do something, even the level of a Bible study for women, to women, I was audibly booed by some women that were actually on the eldership team in the church at the time. And, for me, I was probably about 19. That was just crushed me because, my personality is I want everyone to be happy. So I was like, well, I don't want to do it if it's going to cause unhappiness. That's not who I am. And so for me, I mean, some people, when they see, the obstacle, they're like, right, that my husband's nature is like, okay, no problem. I can take this thing down. He would charge at it. He wouldn't care. That's his personality. Whereas I'd be like, well, do we really need to? Maybe we should just leave it. Is everybody going to be upset if we do it? So my personality actually is averse to that. And so I had to really learn how to not allow the way I'm wired in the natural stop me from advancing in the spiritual. But actually what I love about that part of my personality is it's meant that I've never been a striver. I've never pushed for anything I shouldn't have pushed for. I've always been on the back foot, and some would say, well, that's a weakness. And in some ways it is. There's probably things that I could have stepped into sooner. But I'd rather it be a God moment that I'm stepping into than me just motoring through because I'm trying to fight some battles that maybe I don't even need to fight. So there was that. There was opposition from me coming on staff because I had a parent that was on staff and they said it was nepotism. And so there was that. And then I had opposition just internally in my own friendship world when I was younger on staff with a girl that I was close to, and there was a jealousy issue and an insecurity issue it brought up in her because my ministry was growing and hers wasn't at the same way. And so there was that. I think we all have and then there's the personal ones. I've had a lot of struggles with my health over the years. I have a really rare condition called diabetes insipidus, which has caused quite a lot of serious kind of hurdles in my health over the years. So all that, and then a visa battle for Steve to stay in the country. So we've all had them. I think you just have to, you take them one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? I think that's my approach to those problems, that, I just take the step of obedience and trust God in it.
And you're still here, so really.
I'm still here.
We're still here, yeah. And obviously, Charlotte, your ministry is much wider and it's worldwide. You speak in some of these huge churches. You've never strove for that, but you're all over the world. But when did you realise that your ministry was bigger than local church just in Bradford, but that you were a gift to the world?
I think it was actually God that had to awaken me to that, because like you guys, we're in Bradford, you're Bolton, you're in this area where it's not like it's global. It's not like people are like, I'm saying, it's not like someone's coming to visit like a New York City. It's nothing about it that is. In fact, it can be quite small and limited in its thinking. Quite, we're all caught up in the local environment where we're in. So there's nothing about our life that was actually global minded in the church. And so, I think God's just got a sense of humor. The second time I ever spoke outside of my local church was that I got invited by Brian to speak at the Hillsong Conference. So I went from a room of 400 people to a room of 50,000 people.
Wow.
Overnight. And I was on the plane thinking, he's totally got this wrong. I have no idea where I'm going. He's confused. When I get there, they're going to be, oh, no, we didn't really mean that you're speaking. We just want you to come and attend. But it was like God picked me up, dropped me in a completely different environment. And I'll never forget, after I finished speaking, this woman rushing to the front, explaining she's the pastor of this mega church. And she got on her knees and she begged me. She said, I'm going to beg you. We need your voice. Please come. Well, I remember just this awkward moment thinking, I don't have a PA. I don't really know how to respond. Like, I had no merchandise. And I was so just following the God nod. And so this woman's like, you must come. And so I went, okay. Like literally, I have no idea whether she really did have a church or whether she was like, you know, faking it. I just was like, okay. And the next thing I know, that was the beginning of people beginning to be aware of my voice. But it was something about the way she approached me, this begging. It was like God used that to say, your voice is necessary. Your voice is needed beyond where you have been living and doing life. And so that became the way that ministry opened up for me around the world.
Wonderful. Going on from that, a lot of our church, well, all our churches are in the north west of England. So we've got Blackpool, Gateshead, Wigan, Bolton. I've missed one out, Salford, and we've also got our wonderful Persian congregation. So they're different because obviously their culture isn't like Bradford, a northern English city or English town. And you travel some of these big, huge churches all over the world. Is there anything you think that maybe restricts us in our northern English thinking, that maybe restricts our growth as churches?
Yeah, I think there would be a couple of things that would come to the top of my head. I think the fact that we are small. I think whether or not we realize it is within our dialogue. It's the way we talk. You know, when I'm around people that pastor in those places where it's not so restricted, not so small, the conversation is completely different. It's not a, well, if we can, it's like, we're going to, God's going to provide. He's done it before. There's an expectation and a demand on God that I think attracts God to do things that are beyond, where I think sometimes, you know, that's the reason I wrote the devotion on Beyond, is because I was trying to challenge people to say, okay, well, this is your faith, but what about moving it beyond? You know, this is what your dream is, but what about moving it beyond? And so I think that there is a restriction, whether we realize it or not. And I think a lot of times we don't realize it because everybody in our conversation thinks the same, talks the same. You know, me and Steve in lockdown, we've seen more financial miracles in our church in this season, in the last few weeks, like huge financial miracles. And you're like, there was a switch that we flicked about 5 years ago as a couple where we're like, no, we're not believing for small. So we're right now extending our campus. We're right now redoing our building. We just built a brand new coffee shop. We've got plans to renovate the whole kids facility because we're just not going to think in the way that I think so many times we go to autopilot and think. So I think our thinking and our asking, we're not very good at asking,
No.
you know, and I think that's something that I had to have a breakthrough from because I'm great at giving, but I'm not great at receiving. And we get embarrassed by it. We get embarrassed if we're blessed. We're like saying, oh, it's a secondhand dress, or oh no, it's just a secondhand car. And it's like that's all we should have because we somehow are Christian and it looks wrong. And I had to break that barrier off my life. And I'm so glad I did because it's changed the way I think about our life, our future. I think that. And then another thing I think that we're not very good at, and I do think it limits us, is we're not good at honor.
Right. Okay.
I don't think we honor our leaders. I don't think we honor leaders in the way that we should, and the Bible tells us that we should. I see it in the way that we speak about just even our leaders in the you know, political world, whether we agree or disagree. It's just so easy for us to watch a model of the culture we're in, where everybody pulls one another down, says horrible things about each other, with no regard to people's wives or children or how that comment will land in their personal life. I mean, mean things. And it just roots from this place where we don't honor someone else's property, we don't honor people's time, we don't honor people's gift and ability. And so I do feel like that reduces what God can do. Just like when Jesus was in Nazareth and he's like, I'd love to heal, I'd love to give you miracles, but there's just his familiarity has killed what I could do here. It wasn't that he was unwilling, it was that they kept saying, oh, it's just Joseph's son. And so, yeah, I've had to adjust to that. If I'm honest, you know, I can get standing ovations for messages around the world. And then at home, it'd be like a golf clap. And I don't do it for that reason. But I notice that there's something of hunger and honor that's in that culture that is missing in ours. And I do think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I absolutely. We've got a wonderful Persian congregation, and one of the things that stands out, and I'm going to say this to all our congregations because I think I have said it, and I think they look at me sometimes like, yeah, you know, Do you just want honour? But, you know, I'm not seeking it for myself, but there is a big difference in how they treat leaders and people and the honour that they come with. And I do think you're right. You're absolutely right about you receive more when you honour in that way. Wonderful point. Leaders, Charlotte, we're human.
Yeah.
We're human. We go through stuff, you know, we go through pain, disappointment, we go through ill health and relationship problems. And I'm sure in your 25 years of ministry, you've seen it all, as I have. And I just want to ask, how do you stay focused with all the responsibilities and pressures that you have? Stay focused when you're just going through your own stuff. Like, I know your father-in-law is very poorly at the moment. You've got your own stuff going on. And yet there you are on day 50 tomorrow of Today I Choose. You're preaching. You're as busy as ever. And how do you do that? How do you just...
Well, I think you set yourself up to come across like you have it all together, then you've already set yourself up in a way that it's really hard to ever be vulnerable, ever be honest, or ever be authentic. And so I think some of the people that are in leadership, the mistake that they make is that they do set themselves up on a podium or a platform as if they are untouchable or if those things don't affect them. And thank God I'm just not wired that way. You know, if I'm upset, and you're close to me, you're going to know, not in a spill your guts way, but I'm not going to pretend, So with Steve's dad, we told people, we filmed an Insta story out on a walk saying today sucks. We just had a sucky day and we've come for a walk and we're giving it to God. And you know what, if you're having a sucky day, we're praying for you too. And we involve people, not just in the high, but in the as well. That is leadership. Leadership is not modeling all the stuff that you think people want to see, but it's modeling. Actually, leadership is even better modeled in the things that everybody's handling, but nobody actually knows. How do I stay faithful when I'm frustrated? How do I stand at my post when I feel like I'm disappointed? That's the longevity. That's the story that actually is the one that's the most powerful. And I think we've seen too many leaders that look like nothing's going on, and then the next thing we read is they've had an affair and they're out of ministry. And you're like, something was wrong. Something was wrong in your home. Something was wrong in your marriage. Why did nobody know? And I just don't ever want us to be a casualty like that. And so I think it's leading not from a place where you tell everybody everything, but you teach out of those seasons in your life, which means that you're teaching out something people know you've lived. So, my infertility became chapters in a book. It became a message about the long way round. It became, a story about the miracle in the middle. And I think a leader learns how to take seed out of the sorrow and plant it in tomorrow. And I think I'm always saying to God, this sucks, but where's the seed? I will make the enemy pay. If this leads to someone getting a breakthrough and that to me is what sometimes just pushes me through, that we can help someone else on the way. But if we're really tired or exhausted, or it's a really difficult time, we would just say to the team, hey, you're on this week, we're not on, we're having some time out. We'll be kind to ourselves that way where we can. But honestly, I think the more you do life with God, the more you realize he is our all in all. No matter what, he gives us, beauty for ashes. He does. He bottles our tears. And I think when you know that to your core that, then no matter whether you're a leader or you're just someone that serves in the church, you get through those seasons different.
Yeah, and we bounce back up. We might fall down, but we bounce back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just moving on to Cherish, which has been going now for how many years?
Do you know what? I knew you were going to say that when you got ready to say it, and I never remember. And I'm pretty sure we're about to miss some anniversary or celebration. I'm terrible. I think maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe I want to say like 13. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's more than that. I have no idea.
I think it's older than that, but
probably
15. But how did Cherish, just share those people? Not everybody knows about Cherish. Many of us have been and have been blessed and been spoken to, and lives changed and ministries birthed through Cherish. It's now a movement. It's not just a conference. It's a movement of women. And But it started, like I say, I was in the room when you said, right, next year we're going to do this conference. I think it was just a day thing you did.
Yeah.
And you said next year, and we're going to call it Cherish. So just tell people where that came from. You know, you're this girl daring to be. Was you scared?
Yeah.
Would this work?
I'd love to tell you that I had some big like strategy board, a mission statement, and a revelation from the Lord. But really, it was just a few people in my world that kicked my butt and were like, okay, the women are loving this. It's clearly something that you're good at doing. You should make it for more than one day. So that's where it began. It's like, okay, well, what does that look like? And it was just the next step, honestly. I feel like Cherish is a story that's been written. And for this season, I'm the one that God has asked to hold the pen. And I'm like leaning into him going, okay, this is your story, but I'm writing it. So what's next? And I feel like it went from a day to then, a couple of days. And then obviously we took the big jump from our building to the arena. And if you've not been and you're watching this and you're female, you should come, because it's really hard to describe the miracle that it is. And the thing that I think that makes me the happiest about Cherish is that you feel it's something that belongs to you, and other people feel it's something that's part of their journey and story. It's not anything I feel that is owned by me or our church. I feel like it's something God goes, okay, you all get to be a part of this. You all get to write this chapter in history where the women in this part of the world all came together all at the same time to praise the name of Jesus and to do good. And it is a movement, and it's got momentum all of its own, and breaks my heart we can't meet in the arena this year, because it would have been amazing, but it just means next year is going to be even better.
And on that, for the next 2 minutes, Charlotte, you got your opportunity to tell all our women across all our campuses and everybody watching why they need to book into Cherish 2021.
Yeah, I think, I think I would probably be like some people that are watching, I'm not a conference attender, it's expensive maybe for me to go. I'll just get the tape or the CD. I'm showing my age now, the tape. I'll just get, the podcast or whatever later, and, it'll be the same. It's just not. And there's just some things I think that we should have in our life that are like a date in our diary, that are a regular, this is kind of like my festival, my, going to the house of God, my celebrating of what God's done, my bringing my requests before him in an arena of thousands of women. There's just something in being in the room that is miraculous. It's the atmosphere, it's the angelic presence, it's the power of the word of God, it's the power of worship, and it's not even the loud moments. Remember last year, there were just moments in the worship that were totally stripped back in a huge arena where it was just a voice and a keyboard and the presence of God. And the miracle stories that come out of that event where people are like, that's where I got saved, that's where I ended up my fertility, prayers were answered. That's where there was a breakthrough in my marriage. And you just know, I think it's just, you're in a huge crowd, right? Where 2 or 3 are gathered. But when that many are gathered, you can't help but catch something in your spirit. And I think we all need places where we get filled. We all need, I think all of us, especially women, we're the glue for our family, we're the glue for our community, we're doing everything, serving everyone. And what I love to see at Cherish is people like you, other pastors that are coming, and you're just having a blast with your girls. You don't have to worry if the lights are on or the stage is right or the speakers are being taken care of. You just get to come, receive, and have great fellowship and meet great people. So all of those things, I think, are why you have to be in the room.
Absolutely. Very, very special. And I thank God that you started it and you were obedient to it. Cherish Foundation. Tell us about the God Whisper, and just explain to people what the Cherish Foundation is.
Yes, so that's the other thing about Cherish. There are lots of things in it. I think people think, well, it's just a conference with worship and word. It's really not. It's a really fun experience. You cry, you laugh. All your emotions, from boy bands that really should have retared by now. I'm saying every year I'm like, boys, please not. And then they come out with silver suits on, and whatever.
We love it.
I know. I'm not even asking anymore. I'm not even asking. But, from the hilarious moments to the moments that I just think are really special. And the cool thing about the Cherish Foundation is I had the idea right at the beginning of Cherish, years and years and years ago. And I was running on my treadmill, and I felt God speak to me from that scripture, and I can't even think what it was. I think it's in Galatians, where it says, take care of those, especially those in the household of believers. And I felt God say, there's so many people that we take care of outside of the church, but we need to take care of some of the saints, some of the people that are in the church that have served all their life, given all their life, and are really just going through a tough time. And the church needs to do something back to them, because that's kind of heaven's heart towards them. And so I remember thinking, well, this is a good idea, and this is a nightmare. This is how I work with God. This idea I got on my treadmill 2 nights before Cherish. So I ring my team and I'm like, okay, I have an idea, and this is the idea. And they're like, that's amazing. I was like, so we need to launch it at Cherish. And they're like, oh, you're serious? Like in 2 nights? Like, yeah. So I'm going to need a brochure, and I'm going to need some printed materials. And so I didn't know what to do, because the premises of Cherish Foundation is that people can nominate someone in their world. So you can nominate someone from your church, and you say, you know what, we've got sister so-and-so. She's amazing. She's, battling cancer. She's lost her husband. She's, whatever. And we ask you to tell us their story in secret. So the nominations come in secret, and then we with the team read them. We pray over them. We just ask God to highlight which one we should do. And then we say, okay, we're going to do something amazing for them. And so the gifts that we give at Cherish are things like buying someone a brand new car, sending someone on an all expenses trip to New Zealand to see family they've never seen, flying family in from the other side of the world, redoing a house or whatever, paying somebody's rent for a year. So we've done all of the above. And so it really is one of those kind of, they call me the blonde Oprah, so I'm Dopra. So, yeah, it's one of those moments. But I remember thinking, how are we going to pay for it? Because, obviously Cherish, take it, in the arena and everything else costs us a fortune as a church. I think people think we make money. Cherish costs us a fortune. So I was like, how are we going to do this? So I remember that first year, God saying to me, ask the people to give into the idea. I was like, that's not going to be easy. Like, okay, we're not honoring anyone. You're not going to see us give anything. We don't even know who it's going to, but give. And that, when I launched the idea, it was like God just owned it in the room. And I remember that first time at Cherish, and it wasn't a big room that we took the offering. We took £16,000 in that first offering. And I felt God say, there you go. They're with you. And from there, it's just got bigger and bigger, which is amazing.
Yeah, I was there that day that you launched the Cherish Foundation. You did it so well. And I think in my old church and King's, we've had 2 people who were nominated and actually won prizes. So one girl got a car in our old church. And Dorothy, I don't know if you're watching. Oh, she is. I was in shock. She's talking here. Yeah, Dorothy got a wonderful all-expense paid holiday. So, yeah, it's so exciting when you sat with somebody and that they're going to be there, and you're like trying to get them to wash their hair and dress on. So, yeah. So,
yeah. And what I love is now, I think there's now about 25 Cherish Foundations around the world in my friends' churches. They've attached their own conference name to it, but exactly the same thing. We've sent them how you do it, what you do. And so I love that this act of kindness has gone even further than, the area where we do it. But we've had some incredible moments in there. And one of the things that really made it come home to me was, I remember it was a real struggle the first year that we were about to do the gift, and, the team are tired, and the Cherish Foundation takes as much work as the Cherish Conference, because we have to find the family, then interview people, then make the videos, do it all in secret, get the prizes, sort out travel insurance, book the tickets, organize the work. So there's so much work that goes into it. And I just remember it was a lot of work for this particular woman who we had agreed, I'll never forget her name, she's called Lavinia Brown. And I remember that we were going to do her award. And then 2 nights before the conference, her family called and said, hey, we're just calling to let you know, can you take her name out from the foundation? And we'd filmed all the videos. And I said, oh, why? And they said, she passed away last night. And I felt God say, that's why, because this will be for some the last cheer they hear on earth before they come to heaven. And some people don't think they mattered down here, but they did matter. She was abused terribly by her partner, came from a drug background, prostitution background, and then ended up dying of cancer. and left behind 2 kids. So I remember we did something in her memory with the kids. We sent them away with their grandparents. But I'll never forget that moment. You know, there's just some things that are good ideas and there's some things that are God ideas. And that moment was when I was like, okay, this is a God idea. So
grateful that you did that and you heard the God whisper for that. So what do you see for the future of Cherish? That's a hard question, but
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, my heart about it is, like I said, I'm holding the pen right now, and and unless God tells us to do something, I with the arena, that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, do we do this? Do we not do this? In fact, that's a funny story. I remember when we were going to the arena, because Cherish was in our building up till that, and we were doing back-to-back 2 conferences, and we'd done that for like 6 years, which was exhausting. And there was no other venue to go to that was big enough. And then Leeds Arena got built, which obviously had a much bigger capacity. And so suddenly it was this idea of, well, we could go to Leeds Arena. And so, I just thought, well, we could, maybe we could. And we were in financial, like really bad situation financially at the church. Steve and I had just taken over. There was huge things that we had to deal with, financial giants. And then here's me, the wife, going, so babe, I'm thinking about taking Cherish to the arena. And he's like, you're thinking what? And then we found out just to go to the arena was going to be about £250,000. And he's like, you only have enough delegates to fill the bottom row, like segments right now. And we're going to have to up the delegate. And I felt I don't want to up the delegate price, all of this. So I remember being summoned to a meeting with the trustees and they're like, we just need to know, did God tell you to go to the arena? And I just was so tempted to say, yes. I had a visitation from Gabriel himself. Yes. I had a sign written in the sky. And I just remember looking at him going, I can't lie. I was like, no, not really. I feel he said, do it if you want, don't if you don't want. You're like, give us something to know we're not going to have financial disaster. But anyway, the rest is history. We went in and, we didn't lose money the first year, which was a complete miracle. I don't quite know how that happened. But yeah, I think that kind of is the story of Cherish. So if God tells me we're supposed to do something different, then, if I'm supposed to hand the pen over at some point, I don't know. Right now I'm loving it. I feel like I have the mantle on me to lead it. But I don't feel that I own it in a good way. And so, yeah, I just think it's growing. Yeah, it's growing every year, which is exciting. So who knows?
Yeah, I remember when we went to the arena and you got over, I think Natalie Grant, who's your very close friend, was there, and you were saying to all the girls, you were absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
That day, you felt sick.
Yeah.
Gonna work, are people even going to turn up?
Yeah.
I love that vulnerability about you, that you shared that, because we all feel that. Even me tonight, I'm like, oh gosh.
I remember standing in the back corridor of the arena going, I can't go out. What if there's no one there? I'd be going, Shirley, go tell me, is the people in seats? The people in seats.
Yes.
Because you're just like, oh my gosh, I've made everybody put their money on the line at the church, the trustees, everybody. But you know what? God loves it when we trust him and we step out. So
we love it that you did as well. I'm so grateful. And friendship has been a huge thing to you. You've got friends all over the world. How did that happen? Because is it hard for you as a pastor sometimes to have friends in your own church? Is the friendships at different levels? And
yeah, I think, we all journey, don't we? There's a friendship journey. I mean, one of the things that I love to be able to say is, my best friend of 37 years is still my best friend. So Ariana, that's here in the church. We went to school together, did life together. And I don't think you get that all the time. I think that's a rare, special gift that you get, that there's someone that gets alongside you in your life that is just, we're lifers, We've already planned our retirement together and they've already told us, if you move, we move. If you go, we go. We're like, that's kind of our commitment. And I don't think that's something that you can duplicate unless, it's a God thing. It's like a Jonathan and a David thing. It's a spirit thing. So I have those longevity friendships in my world, but I'm very blessed. I think I have to start by saying I am a relational person, but I'm not a big networker. I'm terrible at that. So, when we're together, Steve and I, and, the meeting's done, I'm like, bye. And Steve's like 3 hours later, still in the foyer, talking to everyone, because that's who he is, So we're very different wired relationally. I want the deep conversation. I want to sit on my sofa with you for 3 hours. I want to talk about your kids and your family. I want that kind of relationship. I don't want a high bye, you know, and we need both. But I've been fortunate that I built that way. So like Shirley, you know, is still in our world for 20 plus years, and, you know, Abs and all those girls around me, we've done a lot of life together. And so I am blessed. But I realized, I think one of the things that God was going to use me for when I started doing ministry was to be a friend to some people that just needed it. And I've just let God lead those people and him lead me to them. So around the world, I just have ended up like with Nat. It was just a complete God encounter, how we met. And God literally randomly through our lives together. And it was not, I didn't even know who she was. She didn't know who I was. And we just became best of friends. And she really needed a friend. And so I think sometimes God does that for you. He guides you. But you can't have that level of friendship with everybody. It would be exhausting. So, you know, I'm thankful for that. And I think friendship is a very beautiful thing and a gift you get to give someone. And I think we should think really long and hard about who we can give that gift to. And my world's so much better because of my friends.
Oh, absolutely. Charlotte, it's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to chat to you tonight. I'm looking at all the comments and so many watching, and I just want to say thank you for your ministry. We honour you that you said yes and you started, you know, you're in the leadership of a wonderful church that has blessed us in so many ways and opens its doors with generosity and leadership training. And you're always, what the church might not know, that Life Church are always putting things on, most of it free of charge, and just saying, you know, if this can help you, come along. And then, of course, Cherish and everything that we've been across our 6 campuses, we've been so blessed because you said the God yes. And
I want to say back to you, I think you're amazing, Georgina, and faithful, you know, in your commitment. I can always rely on that, you know, you and your girls being in the corner and cheering us on. And that's not something you find everywhere. That's not something that everybody is willing to give. Everybody's usually so preoccupied doing their thing that they would think it would be a distraction to take their women or be with the leaders in another thing. And I honor that in you guys, that you're modeling something different in our country and in those churches around us, that you say, no, we're going to go and we're going to receive and we're going to go and we're support. And I know that's how we've grown, and that I know that's what we still do to this day. You know, Steve and I have pastors. We're pastored by pastors. We don't believe that we can do this on our own. And I just love that you've modeled that. So thank you. And that's why I said yes, because I so appreciate you and value you. And I wanted to send you that signal by just getting to be with you in this time with all those that are watching from your church. So thank you to you and the church and to Derek. You're amazing. We love you guys.
Oh, bless you. You know what? I know one of the things that God really spoke to me early on when you launched Cherish was George. That's how God speaks to me. You talked about George today in your I'm George. You know, just get people here. That's all I needed to do. I didn't need a big, you know, just get people to this. And even before I was sort of senior pastor, one of the things I would just gather as many people as I could, and just and I'm asking you, church, across our campuses, gather people and get. Now, I probably have lapsed a little bit with that because we were going in a big hotel together and it got very complicated. We couldn't get a hotel all together. But you know what I'm saying now, girls? We've got to book in for this 2021 in this movement. I don't want you to miss it. I've probably been a little bit, when you've told me you've got other things on and there's been other things available. And, you know, I apologize for that. We need to get back to this. God told me to gather as many people as I could to get to Cherish and other things that Life Church put on, and maybe I've sort of gone on the back seat a little bit with that, although I've been every year. But yeah, we're back on, girls. 2021, we're coming. That's what I'm called to do. As part of what I'm called to do is get people there, and it's life transforming. God will speak to you. It's important. We want to be in on it, don't we, girls? We don't want to miss anything that God's doing. So we thank you, Charlotte. You are a blessing to the church globally. We cannot believe that you give us this hour tonight to give us this time, and we're just so appreciative of that. And you're a busy girl. I know there's hundreds of things that you could be doing, but we've just been so blessed by you, and we pray the blessing of God on you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and give you peace. And I'm saying that to everybody at the moment because I love that song.
Yeah, it's so good.
I really pray it over you, Steve. I know Steve's dad's been poorly, so we're going to pray, church, for Steve's dad to get well.
He's in coma right now, so yeah, we're praying that he makes it through and his heart kicks back in. So, and it's just heartbreaking because of COVID, nobody can be with him. So yeah, so we're just praying, but prayer covers the gap, right? So
yeah, absolutely, and that comfort and peace is all over the family, the homeschooling, everything,
especially maths. Praise the Lord.
Tell me about maths. Yeah, I've got kids who are great at maths. I don't know where they came from.
No, me neither. No. Love you guys. Thanks for having me along, and blessings over you all. Go strong, stay strong, and honor this amazing woman. If you're in her church, if she's your leader, take care of her because she's a good one.
God bless you. Thanks, Charlotte. Love you.
See you later. Bye. Bye.
I think we're still on, but we've gone off. Are you there? Did you hear me? No. Okay. Hi, Luke. Luke.